We're going to try to go live, everybody. Going to be one of my first lives. And I'd like to welcome everybody being here. My name's Wayne, KG4MUK, and what we're doing today is we're doing some coax repair, and I lost my end here. Okay, where did it go? Here we go. So what I am doing right now is been having some RF issues, and with the RF issues, I'm taking and putting an RF choke that's located over here. I hope everybody's doing good today. We're going to try to use some copper strapping to put this and mount it to the side of the house. And what this does is, because I am running a radio with multiple antennas, the multiple antennas being this Ma5B right above my head, I'm running an amplifier as well. And because I'm running an amplifier, I get a little bit of RF feedback, just a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but I originally had these on the inside of the house, and I was still getting a little bit. And what happens, the RF that's coming off of this antenna when I'm talking on it, that RF comes back and gets on, it actually gets on the shield of the coax and comes back into the ham shack and kind of starts interfering with stuff. And as a ham radio operator, that's the last thing we want to do is interfere. So what we do is we take and put, like I said, an RF choke in line. And by doing so, having it outside, it stops the RF when it's connected. It stops the RF right here. So then the line goes on in the house, and it's just a short little stub off going in. And what that'll do is that'll allow the RF to stay out. Because once it stops here, it don't continue to keep going. So what we're doing right now is we got us some of the really good PL259 plugs, and these are the really good ones that have the really good centers in them that you can see. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they're really good ones, and they're really nice to have those. First thing you want to do is just take your end and put it on just like this right here. And what I do, just so I don't have an accident, sometimes I'll put a little bit of tape around this to keep it from falling off in the middle of working on it, but I'm not going to do that because I've done probably 10,000 of these things. So you want to take your end of the connector, and you want to kind of, where the tip is right here, you want to put it up there like that. And if you look at where I'm at, I'm going to cut that thing about even with the shoulder of these threads right here. I'm going to cut that completely off, but what I want to do is get them to where they're both even, tip to tip. And a little extra can't hurt if you're starting to do this for the first time. And what you want to do is just find you a point right here and cut it off right there. And what I'm going to do, and that's about a little bit more than an inch. It's a little bit more than an inch. It might be 1.125 inches, but I'm going to cut very carefully, and you'll hear it. You'll go through the rubber outer core of this, and then you'll go through the shield. And you just want to cut through that shield and cut right down to the center wire, but not really try to go through the center wire. And you want to just keep going around that coax till you get all that cut real good. And then you want to get you a really good pair of pliers and squeeze that thing really good. You want to put a good grip on it. You want to twist it a few times. Okay, I don't know if we're reconnected. I got a telephone call, and I apologize for that. I wasn't expecting that. I ended up cutting the end of this thing off and cleaning it up a little bit. So what we got to do with this is we've got to take and, you know, I'm sitting here looking. And let's see. We're going to copy this link. And we are going to go to... Okay, now we're back. I got that squared away and straight. Okay, now we're back. I got that squared away and straight. Okay, now, what we're doing right now is we're going to take a PL259 plug and we're going to kind of line it up with the top of that right there. And then we're going to cut that thing. We're going to cut this black part straight and clean, about even with this. You want the top of this with the top of that. You want to get it kind of equal there. And then once you've done that, you want to cut that thing off. Mark it with your finger or thumb, whatever. And you just want to take it and take you a good sharp razor blade, make you a good mark. And once you do that, I just want to cut all this end piece off. All right, and I want to get that cut. And then once I get that cut, it's be a lot easier to explain to some of y'all that maybe just new to Hamradio, and I'm kind of going overboard with it a little bit. So it kind of shows, so I'm helping some newbies. Anybody that's new to this, there kind of might be a little confusement, and I'm going to try to make it to where I make it in as self-explanatory as possible. So I've cut all that off, all the way down to that center wire. Take the pliers, and I'm just going to twist it and try to keep it straight as possible. I'm going to pull it off, look at it, and I can see that it's just slightly crooked. Now, a little trick to I'm getting that puppy straight. You can take that thing and put it on upside down. And when you do that, sometimes you'll see you'll have a wire that'll be a little bit of a stray. And I'm going to be honest with you. When you get a wire that's on that center and it's just out of place, I'm just going to tell you straight up, I just go ahead and take it out of the mix, because right there it was already about to break anyway. So it gave us more room to solder. Stick that back on there, and you can see that it's kind of leaning that way a little bit. And you just sort of true it up a little bit. So now what you end up with is a little bit over length right now. But my point is I'm showing you how to put an end on. A little overkill on the cutting and stuff, because I get it down to the point where it's like perfect, but I didn't want to go through all that. So now we're just going to cut the black part. We do not want to cut the inner shield. So you want to make a nice little clean score just in this black insulation, and take your knife and just barely cut that black insulation. You just want to give it a nice little clean cut. We've already cut it around. We've made our little cut right here. So now we can just peel that right off. And you want to take this is your shield or your ground. You want to peel all that back. And you want to pull it back really good all the way around it. Just make it just as absolutely straight and pull back flat as you can make it. So now, if you ever notice, you got this outer chrome little shield right here. I highly suggest you just go ahead and remove that, because if even one little flake of it gets right here on this center, it'll arc. And arcing will cause RF as well. And arcing is not something we want either. So you just get right down here close to the shield and just make you a little score mark around it. And you take your little knife and make you a little tiny little cut, just enough to get it to break loose. And then when you do that, you end up with that right there. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. And you just peel that right off. Get it completely out of the picture. Totally remove it. Now we got a good dialect center. And here's another thing too, just so I'm talking about this. If you mash this part right here, or this outer part, and this is out of shape, that'll change your arms, because this being round, this center is your height, that's your shield. If this coax has a big crimp and mash in it, that'll actually change the arms as well. And that's something you don't want as well. So just take and do that, and then get your end, and you stick it right through. Now here's the reasons why I was telling you that maybe you've never did this before, to be cutting it as long as I did. So here's the reasons why for the cuts on that line right there. I want my shield to be about right there when I fold it back. Then on top of that, that insulator, that white part, that center dialect, will end up right there at the bottom of that right here. But because I made this extra long for y'all to see what's going on, you can literally stick it through the pin, and you're like, you got a lot of excess that you're going to have to remove, which is good, because now we know without a doubt that that is not going to ball up in there and get out of line. All right, and we know that our little thimble's on. We got that in place. Now we're going to take and hold it real good and tight, and you're just going to take this thing, and it's cold outside, and this stuff does not want to do right. So now I've got it started right now. So here's the trick. Very carefully take a pair of vice grips and get them adjusted just perfect where you're not too tight. You cannot wrench down on it and do it like an animal. But you get it, don't get it on the end up here. Get it sort of back here on the back of the ridge. And there's a reason for that. There's more back there and it's thicker. And you just take this and you just start screwing it down, turn it counterclockwise, and keep screwing it. And every once in a while, look between your pliers and look at the hole and see how far that dialect's got up in there. Once it's made its point, you'll feel it. And then you get to turning it, and then it starts to get, and it's like, that's it. That's as far as it'll go. It's already butted up, sealed up good. And the coolest thing about this whole ordeal is this right here. There's hardly any ground exposed. Hardly any. And that is just as perfect as it can get. Now, we could go ahead, we could solder it, and then cut it. I prefer not to, so I just take my old trusty pliers and take these things and get it right above it and get it in here in kind of an angle and do that. Make sure I'm not going to cut the PL259 plug, and just whack it off just like that right there. So it's nice and clean. Anything that might look like it is just possibly a little out of whack, just gently push it down a little bit. Because what'll happen is if anything is sticking up or off kind of kilter on there a little bit, you go to solder and it'll have a cone to it. Then when you try to stick it in something, you can't get it in there. So now for the moment you've all waited for. Well, we haven't got a single person in here, so I'm not really worried about that right now, because nobody knows I'm live and nobody's really subscribed to my channel that much. So we're just doing this just for the fun of it. So we're teaching everybody. And then, you know, everybody will probably come back later on and say, oh, wow, Wayne was doing a video. How cool is that? But all in due time, you know. So we're going to take this. I wouldn't suggest anybody just doing a torch like this, because you really got to be real careful. I've been welding for 30 years, doing a lot of metal fabrication, a lot of different things that I've done over the years. So I've worked with metal quite a bit. I wish there was some way that I could set that camera up where you could see better. Maybe I can by doing this right here. If we can do that, we might be able to be in business even better. All right. Now, let's see. There's the torch. So you can see it. Now, what we want to do is get that hot enough. Make sure you can see it. We're going to start heating it up a little bit here. Right, now we got some fire. You kind of keep an eye on it, looking at the tip. It'll take it a moment to warm up. And all I'll do is come off of the heat just for a second and put a little tiny ball of solder on it. And then once I see that solder start making its way, I know that it's getting pretty hot. It's cold out here, it's hard to do. You just want that, once that solder drops, I know I'm at the point I need to be. And I just take and run me a little bit in there. And it started dropping again. I'm gonna let it cool off for just a second. And I'm gonna get me a little bit more. Okay, right now that's where we're at right now. If you can see it. I don't know if you can see it that good. I don't have a very good camera. Let's see. But anyhow, you're getting to watch me do this. All right, I'm gonna watch that solder on the tip, and once it starts dropping, I'll know that it's time for me to put some behind it. And at that point, that should seal it up. It's starting to bubble just slightly. And that's it. All right. And that's it. It's got a nice tin top to it. So that's what you want. Then we'll get our little end down here and we'll put that back on. Screw that back on like it's supposed to be. And we'll figure out another little trick that I figured out is you've got to take and at least put you a little bit of tape around that to seal that shield. It don't have to be much, but just enough to keep the moisture off of it. So now that's sealed up a little bit. And then whenever we get everything finalized and put together, snugged up with a pair of pliers, just enough to make sure it holds good, then we'll tape it from the lip all the way down to about right there. Then it'll be doing what you want it to do. Now, this is my Ma5B. So we're gonna take and put this isolator is gonna go. Ain't nobody in there yet. All right, we got this. Stick it in there just like this right here. Start to tighten it up a little bit. When you get it almost tightened up, back off a little bit. You hear that? You want to make sure that them teeth are up there. up against it. Can't move, and then tighten it up. Now, when you go to tighten these things up, here's another thing to remember. If you got those cheap Japanese knockoffs of an Amphenol, they're going to break. They're going to shatter and split and give problems. You want these good old 1980s, 1990s PL259 plugs. And all you want to do is just that much. That's it. Good snug, good snug. Then take your tape and get up here as high as you can. Pull it real good and tight right there on that first round and make it seal up on that. And just start taping it nice and tight. Keep going down. When you get right here, you want this right here to be as watertight as possible. Now we're out of tape, but we had enough to do the job. So now that's good to go. All right, now we've got to make another end. And we're gonna have to cut one of these straps. So, to make a strap to mount this thing, you want it to be against the house. You want it to be able to be tight enough to where it's pulling it against the house. So you make your strap like that right there. And then you just cut it about right there. Good to go. This copper is hard to cut. Tell you, any more copper is hard to get a hold of. No lie. So what's everybody gonna be doing today, you know? It's a nice day today. It's not as extremely as cold as it was. It has been colder. We've been on here for a while. I'm gonna take a break and hopefully I can get some people in here to kind of watch a little bit more about what we're doing. And we're gonna try to continue to make some YouTube videos to do more stuff. And hopefully, you know, start teaching people about different things and different stuff. But right now, there's the Ma5B. Now the tower is more or less a test tower. It's not complete. I'm wanting to go much higher and get it up way higher. We've got right now a R9, and this R9, everything here, like there's 6 meters, here's 10 over here, and it's got 12 and 15 on it. And then you got your 17 meter trap, 20 meter trap, then a 30 meter, and then you got 40 and 80 at the top. And this antenna's been a real royal pain in my butt. I will not lie. I did make a winching system for it, and the winching system consists of a 6x6 post. I mean, I can turn this video around. There we go. This is all new to me, YouTubers, so just deal with it. That's all I can say. I'm not editing none of my stuff. It's gonna be straight up raw, good live footage. But I just made a bracket. I got a 6x6 post, 10 foot tall, and I'm almost 6 foot tall, so you can see there's only 5 foot of it out of the ground. So it's in the ground deep with about 500 pounds of concrete holding it. I just took and made me 2 L's, pinned this here pipe. This has got 3 pieces of pipe, steel pipe inside a pipe, so it's very strong. And it goes all the way up to the antenna. And I got it locked on here with a bolt, U-bolt, and a big thick plate. It's got a winch on it. It's grounded and goes to a ground. And this ground from this antenna comes down here. All right. This is going to the house. So I transmit into here and it goes to the antenna. Well, if the antenna gets hit by lightning, the thing is with these Alpha Delta TT3G50s, is lightning will hit, or lightning strikes close. Lightning static will get on top of things, and it'll maybe get into the antenna and get down here. Well, it gets down here, it'll blow this fuse out. When it blows that fuse out, lightning goes to your ground. And I don't care what anybody says. Use all of the 8-foot ground rod. Don't cut it. 8 foot is 8 foot. And ground is at is it about 7'11", 7'9"? Could be end up using a whole dang gum ground rod. If you fix it to where water can get around it and water can settle here and stay here, maybe wet it every once in a while, I put a piece of Schedule 80 pipe here, from here down about 3 foot, and it's about 1 inch under this finger here. So the ground stays soft right there. So water can always get in there and it stays wet. So it's staying wet, it stays better continuity on ground. Other than that, that's the headache. And we're trying to put all this stuff together and get it built. And the Ma5B is done, it's tuned. We still got to work on getting the rest of the tower made up the way I'm going to do it. I'm taking the hazer off, and I'm going to do something a little different. It'll be pretty cool deal. But that's the Ma5B, and I cannot say enough good about that Ma5B. I've got a 1-to-1 SWR ratio on all the bands that it operates on. So it works exceptionally well right now. But this is just in a testing phase for right now until I can get everything else built. And that's the purpose of the YouTube videos, is to do this build and carry y'all along with me. And that's the reason why I hope to get as many subscribers as I can, so I can get a good network of people enjoying the video, and I'll learn as I go. But anyway, y'all have yourself a good day. Catch y'all next round. KG4MK out.